Hey, what's happening guys? Mark back in the workshop on Mark's Aquatics. On this little breeding episode we're going to be breeding Cockatoo Cichlids. Look at those beautiful little pair in there. So let's get these guys settled into the tank. Ah, well there you go guys, they're all settled into their new little home for the time being while they breed. After that I'm going to put them into the bench tank. Now these Cockatoo Cichlids, these Apistogrammas, they normally breed in little harems where you'll have one male and you're going to have up to 7 females, okay? And but I saw these two in the pet shop and I thought, well, I'll just give them a go just to get 3. So I didn't want to buy the whole lot just to set up a whole colony. I just wanted to see if I could get these two going and so I could see them breed. Now if you look in the background, I've got a nice little clay pot in there, and that is where hopefully she's going to go in there, start doing her little arch and luring him in. When she starts showing that little arch to him, she'll arch her body towards him, and then he will put that lovely big crown up, that cockatoo crown up that he's got, and display to her, to which then they will go inside the pot and they can lay up to anywhere up to around 80 eggs, okay? Lovely little reddish colour eggs. That'll hatch a few days later. But first of all, we've got to condition them up. Now you can see they're quite well acquainted with each other already. He's just nibbling away slowly at her. Not a lot of chasing going on. He's not being overly aggressive, as some cichlids can be. They've just gone out of shot now. But they're relatively peaceful little cichlids, these little chaps. And good for a community tank as well. You can put them in with tetras and different things like that. And they're quite good for leaving other fish alone. But like I said guys, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to condition these guys up for about a week, like you always see me do. Condition them on live bloodworm, Daphnia, frozen if you can't get lives, okay, and make sure you feed them nice high protein foods, and that will encourage them to think there's a lot of food in the water, constant supply. And they'll just do, and they'll do what nature put them on the earth to do, like I've always said. Right, okay guys, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put in some mosquito larvae, which I've harvested from outside in one of my water butts, which I keep for this purpose during the summer months. I'll just drop them in. You'll see them go absolutely crazy for these guys, and this is one of my best triggers for spawning a lot of species of fish, is that wriggling mosquito larvae. And check this out. Look at those little guys go, and already you can see that it's just sparked that ignition there, and they're all over the place. They're having a great time hunting these out, and they're going to stay alive in the water column. So if they don't eat them all now, which I probably think more likely they will, because they're pigs for these things, they really are. They're going to keep their eye on them. They're going to pick them off one by one, and when they wriggle from the surface, or they're disturbed, as you know, they do that wriggle from the surface down to the bottom, and that's where these guys are going to be waiting to pick them off. And this is going to get her lovely and conditioned up for laying us some really nice eggs. Look at those little guys go. Live food, if you can get it, is the best in the business for breeding fish. It just replicates nature, like I keep going on about, but it's going to give you some real good success, because they just think there's an abundance of food in the water, which then in turn makes them want to spawn. Hey, that was greedy. You ate that one. You should have given it to your girlfriend. Not very gentlemanly like at all. But that's what I say guys, live food, you're not going to beat it. It's going to stay alive in there now. There you go. As soon as they see that movement, they're on it and they nail it straight away. So in the summer months, this is when I tend to breed most of my fish. Didn't like that one, he spat him out. This is the best time to do it, in the summer months, when you can get the mosquito larvae and all the live food. The puffer tank, as you can see, has gone a little bit crazy with nitrates and those algae. We've had a bit of an algae bloom in there because of the dead snails. Now with that Riccia, sorry, not Cuba on the base, that the shells have fallen in between there, and that's what I was saying before. If you watch that video on breeding on keeping the puffer fish, they won't get all of it out the shell, and some of the shells have gone in between, and it's given it a little bit of a spike. But I've given it lots of water changes since then, and it's under control. and it will slowly get back to normal again over the next sort of couple of 3 weeks. I'll keep the fertilizers down and stuff like that. But it's a perfect tank for these little guys because they absolutely love height, they love cover, places where they can hide, they like the wood, and they may not even lay in there in the cave. They may go behind the wood, they may go on one of the leaves, on the underside of one of the leaves. We just don't know. It's wherever they feel they're going to be safe. I've got a low footprint here in the workshop anyway, so there's not a lot going on in here. And when I do come in here, I'm always very, very careful. He's displaying to her now. Look, isn't that beautiful? Big orange fin going up in the air there. I do love watching these things breed. Like I bred these many years ago as well. They were introduced into the aqua trade in about the 1950s. I think they were introduced into the pet trade, and they've been a staple of it ever since. They're absolutely stunning little fish, and like I said, very, very popular as well. Great fun to watch, and they're a good little beginner's cichlid too. You can get them in a nice little tank. This is only probably a 24 litre tank, I would have thought. Not that big, but as you can see, with lots of cover in there, they're quite happy to be in there. Obviously they come from the shops as well, where they'd been in a bare bottom tank with just the standpipe for the water flow return, so they were hiding around the pipe. There was no other cover in there for them. So once they get into a lovely tank like this, albeit a little bit algae-fied, it's they really do feel at home quite quickly. And when you give them that food, that can induce that spawning so much quicker than normal, because they've been kept in not good conditions. So you give them the right conditions and they're away. But obviously she's not that full up with eggs yet. They're not an old pair. They're sort of quite an immature pair still. May take them a while to go, but when they do go, it'll be fantastic. And one amazing thing with these guys, and the guys, if you know who keep these Apistos, if you've got 5 or 6 different pots in your tank, and you've got a little harem of maybe 6 to 7 females and 1 dominant male, they will go and they will lay eggs in different pots. And I used to do this many years back, and it was amazing to see that when one female went a little bit away from her little brood, you would see her come in and steal some of her young, which was fantastic to watch. Not to harm them, but just to corral up to get more in her little group than the other ones. And it's quite funny the way they tactically go in and steal babies into their little group and take them away from the other one. It's quite fun to watch. But these guys are very, very busy. Like I said, they're amazing intermediate little to beginner species to fish to keep. And I think they'll give you hours of fun watching them, especially when they're corralling the babies around and they're looking after them. It's absolutely beautiful to watch. And I'll catch all that on film for you later on, but I thought I'd give you a little video now on just on them, a little bit of their background, what they like in a tank. 6.5 to 7. And one thing I will say, guys, with these is when they do breed and they do lay eggs, except the pH of the water needs to be around 6.5 to 7, okay? Otherwise the eggs are not going to hatch. That's important. So we can do that by using demineralized water like RO water, rainwater, or adding tannins and lowering the pH with substrate or with leaves, Indian almond leaves, bogwood, stuff like that. Make sure we can get that stuff down. Try and stay away from these pH buffers up and down if you can, because to be honest with you, they're a lot of money and you can do it a lot easier and a lot cheaper with just wood and different things. And a bit of rainwater, which is coming down, which is very, very soft, because if you didn't know, when the rain falls from the sky, obviously, sorry, when it gets evaporated up into the sky, all the minerals and trace elements are left on the ground, and it evaporates up into the clouds. And as it falls again, it's falling, there's nothing in it at all, completely zero TDS, total dissolved solids when it falls. And then as it comes down through the water column, obviously it's picking up little bits of pollution again on the way down, and those trace elements get reabsorbed back into the rain. And then when it hits the ground, if you can catch it in something before it hits the ground, you're going to get soft water, something like a nice piece of polythene or something, and make a hole in the middle over a bucket, and then you can catch some nice fresh rainwater that way. Get it up to temperature, pour it in the tank, and you've got some nice soft water that way, okay? Because as soon as it hits the ground again, it goes back onto the ground, it reabsorbs all the minerals wherever it lands, whether it be limestone, sandstone, and that's how all these different pHs are created, okay? So that's what we test, to get different pHs for different parts of the country where we're from. So that's how that little bit works. Hope you stayed with me there and understood that. But apart from that, these guys like a nice little round temperature, sort of like 25 to 27. Around the 27 mark, I would say, for breeding purposes. That's not square, that's better. They're messing around in the background there now. I'll put a couple of bloodworm in and see what they get up to. Just let a couple of those little bloodworm fall away there. I think then there's not much life in these little guys left anymore, but they're not fussy. They're quite good eaters. Being cichlids, they are carnivorous, okay? So, well, they've learned to be more omnivorous in captivity, but in the wild they'll eat like fry and small bloodworms like they're having now, and feed on those kind of things. But they will take pellet, and they're pretty well readily trained now through the aquarist hobby and through the pet trade in general of eating foods like that. But they are carnivores, so you can't keep these guys with shrimp or anything like that, or other fry, because they will predate on them, okay? They've come back out the front again to see us. Now there's loads of different types of these as well. You can get double crowns, you can get all kinds of different colorations and forms. They've bred out now some real lovely stunning colours that have come in all different ranges. So keep your eyes out for some. Very happy in there, these two little chaps, which is nice to see. Anyway, I thought I'd do this little Wednesday video for you just to show you the new additions and what we're going to be breeding. And when they do the breeding part, there'll be a part 2, and then you can follow along, and hopefully we'll have some fry out and you can see all those, and we'll go through all that and the feeding and all that kind of good stuff as well, okay? And if you're not subscribed to the channel, all right, hit the old subscribe button and that notification bell, and then when I do new videos on these or any other videos, you'll be notified, okay? And you can carry on watching them along with everybody else on the channel. Anyway, that was a little 10-minute introductory into the Cockatoo dwarf cichlids, the old Apistogrammas. And I hope you enjoyed. Well, it's not really, it's pretty much part 1 of a bit of an introductory into them. And we'll get into that breeding side when they start doing it. I'll film it for you all the way, and you'll have some babies to watch as well, and hopefully some eggs and everything to see, and we may even catch them laying the eggs, which will be absolutely awesome. Anyway guys, as always, your stars, love you loads. Thanks for tuning in, thanks for being part of the channel. Take care, and I'll see you again on the next episode of Marks Aquatics. Bye for now.
Just me and my guitar.